Welcome to episode 93 of the Backlot 605 podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman.
I'm Brian Mensing.
And today we are in week 3 of our baseball miniseries for the month of August. And after some great guests, our first 2 weeks, we had Stephen from the State Theater for our first week talking Field of Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We had Carter last week talking about Moneyball. And this week we have just me and Brian.
Where's Carter from?
He is from the Sioux Falls Canaries.
All right, just throwing that out there. And then there's just us little itty bitty guys here this week.
And then us, you just have to hear our voices this week. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's all right, because this week we're going to bring it into the documentary territory, talking about the, I believe, 2014 film, The Battered Bastards of Baseball.
Yes.
And this was a first-time watch for both of us, and we thought we'd mix it up with a documentary. Much to me wanting to have Major League on this somewhere, that just means we have to do another baseball miniseries next year.
Oh, darn. You feel so bad about that, don't you?
Shucks. We'll just have to do another one.
We'll just have to do more baseball. There's so many baseball movies.
That is the one sport where I'm like, I am fine doing it every year.
Right.
I don't care about football movies or basketball movies. I'm fine doing that once. Baseball, I could do every year.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think it depends on the film and whatnot. I mean, there's some good football movies out there. There's some good basketball movies out there, and I think at some point we should give them their just dessert. But
no, I agree. But I think when we do those, I think it's kind of like there's only four or five movies out of each of those. Or baseball, it's like we could just keep going. You could almost have a whole movie podcast on baseball movies. That's how many there are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about the Battered Bastards of Baseball here in the second half of the show. But you know what? We're gearing up. We're getting closer to theaters opening. That means the box office is starting to really shape up, and it did so quite heavily this past weekend. So let's jump into the box office. Number 1 is the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, the third SpongeBob film. Bringing in over $865,000 in 3 theaters.
300 theaters.
300 in 3 theaters. That was quite impressive for SpongeBob.
If that was 3 theaters, that is like $1 billion movie, and we all know that SpongeBob is not $1 billion movie.
Hey, I've been impressed with the first 2 SpongeBob movies. I'm excited to eventually watch this one.
You know what this particular movie does for one specific person that I think is absolutely kind of hilarious in the fact. In the midst of COVID and in the midst of all these movies getting postponed and delayed and productions and all that stuff here, Keanu Reeves has a number 1 movie this week.
Hey, he'll have probably another number 1 movie coming out in a few weeks too.
I'm hoping so.
The Keanu-sance will continue.
Yes, and I'm okay with that.
Number 2 is a movie that we will be talking about and coming soon when it finally hits theaters near us. That is the Russell Crowe, savior of cinema, Russell Crowe, in Unhinged, bringing over $600,000 in 299 theaters. Could not quite catch up to SpongeBob for some reason. That one theater just not fat Russell Crowe for me.
Right.
Yeah. So this number, I think next week, obviously this will move up to number 1. With it opening in theaters pretty much semi-nationwide, I assume. This is where we're seeing the bigger releases starting to ramp up, and this is Unhinged was kind of the one that was like, well, we're going to beat Tenet to theaters.
And we'll see how well that does for them.
Well,
do you think that maybe SpongeBob will try to maybe expand too?
I can't remember what was going on with SpongeBob.
Maybe the Sponge on the Run is going to give Unhinged a run for its money?
That's what I'm curious on, because seeing that at number 1 surprised me, and I should have looked this up beforehand, but if I was not mistaken, it was supposed to end up on the CBS All Access, if I was not mistaken, at some point. But that could be after a limited theatrical run, so I'm not sure on that.
No. I guess next week we'll find out.
Yeah. Number 3 was last week's number 1, The Tax Collector, starring Shia LaBeouf, bringing in over $182,000. That seems pretty accurate for this. I like seeing that it hit select theaters and VOD, and it's still doing pretty well in the limited number of theaters that it's in.
Well, and I'm even looking at like the percentage drop, and the percentage drop is pretty standard
Mm-hmm.
for like your average week drop. It was at 41.2%, and considering some movies and whatnot, that's actually pretty good.
Another one that didn't have that big of a drop from last week is our number 4 movie, The Rental, bringing over $93,000. Dropped
Hmm.
about 33.5%. Again, a simultaneous VOD and limited theatrical run on that movie. And rounding out the top 5 is Peninsula with $79,000 in only 45 theaters, doing pretty well for itself still here stateside.
I am looking at these numbers, and the one thing I do find fascinating about Peninsula is it dropped 33% and it lost 3 theaters. It's not in a whole wide release right now, but actually went up in the rankings from 6th to 5th. Makes me wonder. It makes me wonder what number 6 was.
Well, give me about 20 seconds, and I will have that number for you.
Well, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't think it was too far behind. It was, well, actually it was. I lied. It was The Big Ugly, $22,000.
Ah, gotcha.
The Vinnie Jones movie from last week.
What?
Yeah, Vinnie Jones could not break the top 5.
He's gonna be like, I'm gonna break some noses.
All right, I am gonna call an audible here in the middle of the show, if you don't mind. I will take the news because we are so news heavy this week, and I will give you coming soon. Does that work?
How's that not work? Because we're not news heavy and we're coming soon heavy.
That was a joke.
Okay.
That way we're you're not reading one thing off and you're like, yeah, that's it.
We can work with this here. Don't you worry.
Yeah, so I'll take the news if you want to do coming soon when we get to that. But like I said, the reason we're doing that, we have one news article to talk about, and this is only a last-minute addition to our notes for the show. Just dropped here earlier this week as we're recording this. It is that a Planes, Trains, and Automobiles remake is in the works with Will Smith and Kevin Hart teaming up to star in the film. Taking on presumably the same roles that were played by John Candy and Steve Martin in the original John Hughes film. What's your thoughts on this duo and then them taking on the property of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Well, the first thing I want to say is would this be like the first like remake for a John Hughes film? Like I can't think of anything else off the top of my head that would have been remade outside of like Weird Science became a TV show or something like that. But I think he was still involved with it still. We've got Home Alone sequels and whatnot, but I think this might be the first like straight up John Hughes like remake.
As far as a director, yes, it is. Writing, we would have had like the Vacation remake and 7 million Beethoven movies and
oh, we don't talk about the Beethoven movies. No. I don't think he talks about the Beethoven movies if he could.
And the Mr. Mom TV show that came out that no one watched.
Oh, the one on Vudu?
Yeah.
I don't know what I think about this. For the sake of who we have in the film, we both know that Will Smith and Kevin Hart both have the comedic chops to be able to pull off this film, but there's going to be a lot of nostalgia riding on this that I think it could work. But I mean, you're filling the shoes of one Steve Martin and the infamous, John Candy. So it's definitely going to be a tough one. I think it's gonna take us having to see trailers and promotional stuff to see how well this might pull off, to see if this is going to be a train wreck or if this is going to be something that's at least going to pay respect to John Hughes and the movie that he made.
So I'm kind of two minds of this because one, I can picture who was in what role already.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Kevin Hart is the John Candy.
Yep.
And Will Smith is Steve Martin.
Yes. Absolutely.
But on the other hand, I think it's an interesting proposition that it's not The Rock and Kevin Hart this time. It's Will Smith and Kevin Hart. At least mixes it up, gives us a new flavor.
Mm-hmm. Will Smith needs that paycheck.
I mean, no, yes and no, but he's probably a little cheaper now than The Rock.
Uh-huh.
But on that though, I don't know if I like the teaming up, because one thing that we talked about in our group chat, Andy the fat dude brought this up because he read it as Kevin James instead of Kevin Hart, and I'm like, I would rather watch that movie where it's Kevin James and Will Smith doing planes, trains, and automobiles.
And you know what? That is not a bad feasible, just because, I mean, not to take to say that Kevin James is, a bigger guy, whatever the case is, but I mean, I guess in terms of the John Candy character, he kind of fits the mold a little bit more. We already know that Kevin James and Will Smith have a very good chemistry from when
Mm-hmm.
they did Hitch, excuse me. So,
Still
um,
the best Kevin James movie.
what, you don't like Here Comes the Boom?
Here comes the groans.
Uh, but yeah,
But yeah, I'm not a Kevin Hart guy, for one. So anything he is in just doesn't ever excite me. But him with Will Smith can at least, all right, that's a new dynamic I've not seen,
right.
and that leads a little interest into this project.
Yeah. And like I said, I think we're talking about a property that has been around for decades with two very good um, master comedic performances from two masters of their craft. And like I said, I think Kevin and Will Smith are both funny dudes. There's no arguing that. But those are big shoes to fill. So I think it's, for me, I'm gonna sit on the lines of, I need to see more other than just here's what's gonna happen. Like, we don't know who it's directing. We don't know if there gets any modification to the story or anything like that. So I'm gonna sit on the side of, I need more before I make that presumption of whether I think it's a good or a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it is going to come down who's directing, who's taking over the other big pair of shoes to fill, the John Hughes role. Who's
Hmm.
stepping into that, and I think that'll be a real make or break thing with this movie.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the same lines of, like, when we talk about this new Scream film, is this will be the first Scream film that will be made post, you know, the passing of Wes Craven. Those are big shoes to fill as well. And yes, I think it's going to be a matter of seeing who's going to be able to try to recreate that magic that John Hughes did.
Yeah, so we'll keep you updated. I'm sure once that news breaks, we'll talk about it on an upcoming episode too. So, but yeah,
Hmm.
that's all we got for news. It's
Yeah.
been a slow news week as everybody's kind of gearing up for theatrical releases to finally hit theaters again. And yeah, let's jump into those. Let's go to coming soon. What do we got first on our
Well,
list
I
of coming soon?
I will say here really quick, and I don't even remember her name because she'll be one of the new cast members, but there is a third official cast member for the Scream 5 movie.
Yes, I
Um,
don't know her from anything, and that's why I
no.
didn't. Cool,
Well,
a new young cast.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of like that idea. All right. So for coming soon, since you're throwing this at me because you don't want to talk as much, is obviously, we talked again in regards to Unhinged, the new Russell Crowe, uh, whatever, Family in Danger. There's all sorts of movies that are like this. This is I can't picture this being the, as you put it, the savior of the film industry right now. Maybe if Russell Crowe was like 1999, like Gladiator Russell Crowe, maybe, but not Russell Crowe of 2020. So um, I guess we'll kind of see how it goes. I mean, it's a guy in his car, road traffic, all that. I don't know. It for me personally, for me, it's I don't have to go see it. I'm not jumping at my on to go to the theater to go see this.
Yeah, this movie does not excite me at all. This seems like a straight to VOD movie with
Hmm.
fat Russell Crowe in it. And I keep bringing that up, and maybe that's a little unfair, but like you said, if this was 1999 Russell Crowe, we're talking about, a movie like this is a big movie during the summer. It's just he's not
Right.
that guy anymore. He's just not
Right.
there, and this seems like he's kind of in the Bruce Willis territory of and John Cusack, where I'm going to do straight to VOD movies, and this just seems like one that just so happened that the studio behind it wanted this in theaters, and now to be the first movie back in theaters,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not rushing out to the theater to watch this one.
Yeah, wait until we get the trailers next week when they'll finally hit the trailers. Will hit TV and be like the #1 movie in the United States.
I mean, we've been waiting for those. We haven't had those in months now. So I guess
Right.
that'll eventually be the TV spots for Unhinged, the #1 movie in America.
The #1 movie starring Russell
Yeah.
Crowe.
So
the
yeah,
guy from Gladiator.
the theaters are opening this upcoming weekend here in Sioux Falls, at least one of the Cinemark is. So we're actually going to be getting these movies in theaters, guys. So if that's something you're looking to get back into the theaters and watch new movies, there is some movies coming out. It's up to you if you think they're worthwhile.
Right. All right. So on to the next one. Personally, I as I was watching this trailer, I immediately thought Casey's out. Casey's out. I don't know if this will be something I would necessarily watch in the theater, but this is something I'm actually intrigued by. And that is the trailer for Cutthroat City, a new film by the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan. As some people may or may not be aware, he does do movies on the side here occasionally and whatnot to expand his creative outlet, if you will. In terms of the cast that we have in here, Wesley Snipes, Ethan Hawke, Isaac Gonzalez, Terrence Howard, and it sounds like it from what I got from the trailer and whatnot, it's in regards to some friends that are impacted by the Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, and kind of the aspect of what they do and go through during all of that and whatnot. I myself, I actually, to me, I'm intrigued. I want to see this film. I don't know if this is something I would necessarily go to the theater to go see. I think maybe, I think going straight to like a Netflix or like a Amazon Prime or something like that is going to be the go-to instead of the straight to DVD kind of market that we have nowadays. And I do think this would have been more apt to be a straight to streaming service film. I think that would have got more eyes on it. I don't know if a lot of people are going to want to go see this in the theater. But just for the sake of the cast and from what I see from the story, it is one that I do want to see.
Out of the three big movies that we're going to be talking about for theatrical release, this is the one I would go out to watch.
Really?
Yeah, this one
this is one of the couple of the ones where I was like, I couldn't picture you going to see this.
No, this looks great. I don't know RZA from anything. I don't know his and especially his film work. I don't know that from anything else.
With Iron Fist.
I never watched that movie. But looking at this cast is stacked.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting to look at this cast because when you look at it, the two big movie stars in this, Wesley Snipes, Ethan Hawke,
yes,
are the old guard in this movie. They're not the main characters, and it's really interesting to look at them in that perspective because those were two big guys in the late 90s, early 2000s. Seeing them in supporting roles like this, I think is going to really help this younger cast out. I do like Shameik Moore. He was great in Dope. He was obviously great in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, so when I saw the name, I immediately was like, wait a minute, I think that's who that was, but I hadn't had a chance to look it up. Yeah. So thank you for clarifying that for me.
Yeah, this movie looks really good. I don't know if I would go to the theaters. I'm kind of in the same boat as you as if this was an Amazon Prime or an Apple TV exclusive, then I think this might do better than it's probably going to end up doing. I think it's caught in a weird situation right now.
Right.
People are still on the fence about going to theaters. I think you need something like a Tenet or a Wonder Woman or a big tentpole movie for people to really go rush out to the theaters. I think this, oddly enough, would probably have done better if Tenet was in the theater right now. Because at that point you're like, well, I can't get into Tenet because you can only have half capacity in the theaters. I saw the trailer for Cutthroat City, and that looked good. I'll just go check that one out instead and watch Tenet next weekend.
I will say that I really do like T.I. as an actor. I think he actually does relatively well for the parts that he is given. He's definitely a supporting actor. Um, Whatever they're doing with this whole like makeup on his face thing is kind of weird though.
Oh, I like it. I like that it's not just Ti then.
I agree, but I think I'm so used to seeing Ti in Ti form that's what's taking me a little bit to get used to. But yeah, that was like one of the first things that I noticed right away. I'm like, hey, it's Ti. What is with his face?
Wesley looks great in this. I just had to add
Wesley
that.
looks fantastic.
I love me some Wesley Snipes. So
Okay, so on to the next one here. The next one here, this is definitely one I don't think I picture you going to the theater to go see.
this is one I
Uh,
don't picture anyone going to the theater to see.
yeah, you're probably not wrong. I do kind of want to see this here, but it is something I probably would wait for streaming. And that is the movie that is coming out this week as well, called Words on Bathroom Walls. Regards to a teen who is diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, who is, he makes friends with this gal. It's um, the I never got a chance to see the movie, but she was in Waves as well, where he basically is trying to, it's the teen romantic comedy, him trying to find himself while trying to deal with the issues of being able to see and hear things that other people can't see. Andy Garcia, Walton Goggins, Molly Parker is in it. Uh, Again, for the type of movie that it is, and the supporting, like in the same instance of like Cutthroat City, in terms of the older actors that are coming to support the young cast. I think they have a very good cast there to be able to help support those kids. And like I said, I mean, it to me it looks good, but it's not something I'm gonna rush to the theater to go see. I think as we start to get more and more of these films, especially with technology and being able to push, movie making to the brink where we have so many movies coming out all the time, streaming service is really going to have to be the place where people are just going to have to understand that's where some movies have to go. Like this is going to be probably, even though it's like a teen rom-com, I almost picture like this is the movie like your parents will go see because they don't want to go see like Cutthroat City. They don't want to go see, Tenet or something like that. They want to see something that is more dramatic and more to the heart and stuff like that than like say what you and I might go see.
This looks like a Netflix movie.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like every Netflix movie that comes out. It has the same color palette. It has the same style to it. If this hit Netflix, this would do really well, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm kind of. Unfortunately, I think with movies like the ones that we're getting this weekend, I think in the future, we're going to be seeing a lot of these. These are just not going to get theatrical runs at all. They're just going to go straight to VOD, and the theatrical movies are going to be the tentpole movies, and
Mm-hmm.
that's about it. You're going to get that in the theaters. The movie doesn't look bad. I gave it crap that no one's going to go watch it because, well, it does look like a Netflix movie, and I think at this point, most people that would have watched this are going to say, "I'm just going to wait for it to come on Netflix or
Mm-hmm.
Hulu or Prime or whatever."
Right.
Yeah, the movie it looks fine. It kind of looks like the I call it the dying teen movie. He's not dying, but
Yeah.
it's the same premise. I'm surprised you didn't bring up Taylor Russell from Escape Room because she's the lead in that too.
Okay,
Um,
so when I must have then when I looked, no, I thought that's who I thought that it was. But the IMDb page is very incomplete right now, so I must have brought up the wrong gal.
no,
So,
it's the same gal.
oh, is it?
But that's where we would have known her from. I just find it funny that in that movie she was kind of playing older, and in this one she's like playing middle school, early high school.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't realize that she was. Again, I never got a chance to see Wave, so I was like, okay, because that's not Escape Room isn't one of the first things that pops up for her, and I'm like, really? But no,
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
I'm not going to rush out to watch it. This seems like it's a teen movie, and maybe the teen audiences will rush out to it.
For the sake of COVID, this is not a movie for theaters.
No.
If this was non-COVID, small theater, put this in the back corner for as an alternate option for people, maybe then. Which I think, like you said about some movies, it should be just a VOD here. Once we kind of get into the new way the movies are going to go, is what I think is what some of these need to be. Is that it's not going to be, it'll be a release. It's not going to be heavily or whatever. But it's going to be kind of like that side room kind of movie where it's like, hey, we have an alternative, along with them doing like some of the continue to do repertory screenings and stuff like that, and some of these like smaller movies. And who knows, maybe some of these franchise theaters will get off their butts and get rid of the dual release mentality, and maybe give some of these smaller movies some better shots too.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation we're in. I'm interested to see where we're going to go after theaters all start opening up and figuring out in the next year or so what's still going to hit theaters and what's going to end up on the VOD platforms.
Exactly, because in talking to that, I kind of go into the next thing that we have here, and mainly bring it up because of what is to come before it anyway, is we're on the 10th anniversary of Inception, which it does not feel like it's already been 10 years since Inception came out. But they are doing a 10th anniversary release for the film to theaters because, Christopher Nolan can't put Tenet out into the movie theater, so we might as well put something else in that he can put in theaters. But supposed to have some sneak peeks to Tenet in there, as well as new previews for Wonder Woman 84 and the new Dune film. So it's like, are we trying to push this as, hey, it's the 10th anniversary of Inception, or are we just doing this because we want to figure out ways that we can get the new trailers out?
Well, this was originally planned for Tenet's original release date after it's moved now 20 times, but this was originally planned for like the week or 2 weeks before Tenet had opened.
Gotcha.
So it was something they had planned, and I like that they are going ahead with Inception's 10th anniversary. I didn't watch it in the theater. This is something that would actually get me out to the theater and check it out.
I think and they're not going to, just based on the release schedule and the fact that Unhinged was going to have the XD theater here in Sioux Falls, is that Inception would be one of those ones that I would love to see them do the 10th anniversary in our XD theater, in our big theater, to allow for the massiveness that is that film, to be able to see that, because I only saw that like on a regular screen. I think watching that on the big screen would be a good watch.
Yeah, and having that audio for the Zimmer score would just be
the Zimmer score.
That's what it would be.
As our podcast gets muted by like social media.
No, we're fine.
Yeah. That's what you say all the time.
All right, what do we got next?
Next one here, which I did watch this trailer. I am intrigued. I am actually really intrigued. Jay Baruchel is getting back into the driver's seat in terms of being a director. Usually he does comedy, and we have Random Acts of Violence that's going to be premiering on Shudder on the 20th of August. It's a horror film done by him, and like, again, it's kind of like with the Dave Franco thing. It's the fact that we're kind of seeing these guys who are normally known for doing one thing and willing to venture out into another. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have ever pictured Jay Baruchel doing a horror film. The fact that we've got, he's in it. Jordana Brewster is in it. I think this might be the first thing I've seen Jordana Brewster in that wasn't a Fast and Furious movie in a decade. Who do we got? Jesse Williams, Liam Wilson. Overall, like, I'm watching this trailer. I legit want to see this. This looks good, and I think that Jay Baruchel is definitely going to show that he can do. Again, like I said, he can do more than comedy. And I'm all in on this.
Yeah, we had I had the chance to watch the trailer too, and we do have a review for it up on the site now. Sam Lenz had the opportunity to watch it and review it, and he said it is one of the most brutal movies he's watched in a very long time.
So in terms of the premise of the film, we have a comic book artist who has one of like the like a nice rated R comic book, and it seems that there is a crazy individual out there that is basically recreating the deaths in his Crazy Man comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this looks very interesting. I'm excited to check this one out. But again, Sam said good things in his review that's up on the site, and I've heard good things about it. It doesn't surprise me that Jay would make a horror movie, though. He seems to have that sensibility. That entire like Seth Rogen crew seems to have that side to all of them.
Well,
Because even
again,
look at Seth Rogen, he had Preacher.
hmm
You look at Danny McBride, who's been working on the Halloween movies, and now Jay is working on this, and Franco is a guy who can kind of jump in any genre and make it work. And I do like. I want to see continuously. I want to see more of the comedy guys break into horror. Dave Franco just did so a few weeks ago with The Rentals,
hmm
and I'm excited to check this one out.
I definitely am, and that you make mention of that I didn't really put I didn't put like the Seth Rogen crew, like the in the end kind of crew together, but you're absolutely correct, and I've said it before and I'll say it again and again, is that if there's one good place that you could probably find good horror is in a comedian, because a lot of comedy comes from a dark place.
And you can
So,
find a lot of good horror on Shudder.
hey, what do you know? I think that's what they're known for, right?
Yeah, they got that on lock.
All right. So next thing here, and I think we've actually even touched on this already before, is Disney Plus will be releasing on the 21st the one and only Ivan, which is the Bryan Cranston gorilla movie with Sam Rockwell as the voice of the gorilla. We've got some voice acting with Danny DeVito, Helen Mirren. We've got Angelina Jolie. Um, it's Disney Plus. I don't see that this would have been a good one for mass theaters anyways. Maybe, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one here. I might watch it if I'm bored one day.
I won't watch it. This as soon as I watch the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this is a Disney Plus movie.
Yes.
And I think Disney, I think is the first big studio that is figuring out what's going to be in theaters and what's going to work on Disney Plus, and I think they're
hmm
really going to implement that a lot more going forward.
Oh, I agree too. Hopefully they just won't go the Milan route. Is all I'm hoping.
I hope so too.
All right. So the next thing here we have, going straight to VOD, is another Tesla movie. Hey, but I'm sort of intrigued by this here. It doesn't look like your true biopic type style film. It looks like they do bring a little bit of artistic license to this, in the fact that there's even aspects of modern technology being used in a biopic about Nikola Tesla. It stars Ethan Hawke as Nikola Tesla, who, hey, look, so he's two movies coming out in the same weekend. Yeah, that's a busy man. Jim Gaffigan is in it.
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yes. What we got?
Uh, this
Yeah.
movie looks incredible. Oh my god, I really want to check this one out.
And the one thing
Tesla. This is it's just even watching the trailer. I'm like, wait. They have a why does she have a why do they have a cell phone? Why do they have what they have a
well,
laptop? What is going? And then
and
starts
that's
playing
what I
this
mean.
techno score too. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm
And then
in.
we, even at one point in the trailer, we have Ethan Hawke as Tesla in front of a stand-up microphone,
Mm-hmm.
like he's ready to like go straight on like Bohemian
He's
Rhapsody.
gonna drop the hottest album of 1885
Right.
or
Um,
whatever
I,
year.
I am, we're getting more and more of these like historical type films and stuff like that. When in the notes here, we bring up like the fact that Nikola Tesla was brought up just last year alone in the current war, that sort of thing. I like the fact that this one is different. The fact that, it's, it knows that it is not a true biopic, that it is, a loose interpretation of that. And so when they are a film that knows that, then that's when I'm completely okay with, the, like you said, like the techno music, the computer, the projector, the stuff that is not supposed to be there, because they know exactly what they are.
Yeah, this of all the new releases coming out, even even me as the horror guy with random acts of violence, this trailer, like I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I want to check this one out.
And to me, and that the one thing I have to say though is Ethan Hawke. Like, even if you, Ethan Hawke is like one of those ones that he will still put his all into a film, even if it's like something that like nobody will see, kind of thing. And that's saying a lot for a guy who
Hmm.
literally has grown up as a child star. Like, you make reference to Cutthroat City and the fact that he is, the old guard passing on to these young kids and whatnot. He's been there. He was that kid at one point. So I just find it fascinating that he will go strong, and he doesn't leave anything to the side, and he goes all in. Like, he flat out looks like Tesla.
Yeah, I think Ethan Hawke, he's just one of those actors no one we just never give the full credit to. Like, he's just like the guy that is constantly working hard, and he'll pick these weird, strange projects, and
Hmm.
he's always giving it everything.
Right.
Yeah,
People like you and I give him the credit he deserves, just not everybody. Like, this man should probably have a few Oscars underneath his belt that he doesn't got credit for.
yeah. So, what
All right,
Tesla VOD August 21. All
21st,
right,
yes.
exciting.
Um, Chemical Hearts looks like it's an Amazon Prime movie. We got another love teen romantic movie here. I didn't get a chance to watch the trailer for this here. It wasn't something that really piqued my curiosity. Looks like here a romantic dreamer and a mysterious transfer student brought together when they're selected to co-edit the school paper.
Ooh, romance ensues.
Mm-hmm.
I have no real interest in it. I mean, if Words on Bathroom Walls hit Netflix, I think we would have an interesting Prime versus Netflix teen romance movie, and I think they could have battled it out. Instead, I think they'll just have to battle it out here, one in theaters and one on Prime.
Yep. And the part that's funny is because the one is in theaters, it's probably the one that's prime is going to be the one that wins.
Yeah,
Even
probably.
even even though the one that's in theaters would be the one that you and I probably would watch first.
Yeah, yeah.
On to the next one here. And I think I watched a trailer for this here last week here. Actually is The Sleepover with Melina Ackerman and Joe Magniello. When two kids find out that their parents are thieves in the witness protection program. Um, and we've got those two big stars doing the whole, like, James Bond and like kicking butt and like Mission Impossible kind of stuff. I'm intrigued, but this is one of those ones where I'm glad it's on Netflix, because that's probably how and why I would have watched it. I wouldn't have gone to the theater to go see this. This is straight up like a good place for it to be, is on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, and I have that for free, and I'm still not gonna watch it. This looks terrible. This looks horrible. Oh man, what I get, Netflix is probably writing Joe Manganiello and Ken Marino and Melina Ackerman a pretty good check to be in this family type of movie, but yeah, this does not look good.
You say that, and then like, like, I finally watched it. It was actually good.
Yeah, it looks like Netflix is kind of like we need a family movie. This is our time to hit a family movie for a big release, and they'll hit a family movie. And the next week it'll be a romance movie, and then the next week an action. They had a formula down of what hits the streaming services that
Yep.
way. Netflix does a good job of that though, hitting all demographics, and this is just the family movie of the week.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, because Netflix has definitely been doing a lot of expanding of like the sub markets for the different stuff to get people to stay
Hmm.
hooked with Netflix. So just real quick here, some special stuff kind of going on in the area. Dancing Spider Film Festival here has been moved over to the Take 16 Brewing Company in Laverne for Friday the 21st and Saturday the 22nd. This is their 5th year in a row doing this festival. Typically, it's been at the Verne Drive-In movie theater. It got bumped out thanks to a little band called Metallica, but that's a whole different thing. What else we got going on here? Looks like here we've also got Saturday the 22nd, the Moonlight Movies at Faywick Park is going to be watching the 1978 Superman the movie, which one of these days I'll actually get down to Faywick Park and I'll watch at least one of their Twilight movies.
once they play Twilight at Twilight, I'll be there.
No, you won't.
You don't know that. I am stoked for Dancing Spider this year. I
Yes.
haven't been yet, and unfortunately, it was moved out of the drive-in. But you know what? It's at a brewery, and you know what? If they got beer, even better. I'm excited to go check it out. I've heard some rumors of some of the movies that will be played there. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to go check that out this Friday and Saturday in Laverne, Minnesota. And yeah, Laverne's a nice little town, and to go check out a film festival there is it's gonna be fun, because especially since no other film festival is happening this year, it's gonna be cool to just hang out on the patio, have a beer, and watch some movies.
Definitely. So yeah, that's what we got kind of going on. There's a lot going on this week, it looks
Yeah,
like here, but hey, look, it's because stuff is actually starting to happen. So
there's no shortage of movies coming out this weekend. So yeah, if you're listening to this, please let us know what you're going to go check out this weekend. Are you going to go out to the theaters for opening weekend again? Are you going to check out Unhinged? Are you going to be staying at home watching Tesla or The Sleepover? Or are you going to head out to Laverne, Minnesota to check out The Dancing Spider? Let us know. But yeah, we're going to take a short little intermission, a concession break, and we'll be back to talk about the Battered Bastards of Baseball.
baseball.
Back talking about the Battered Bastards of Baseball. Baseball
I did not
puns.
catch you doing that.
Baseball puns will be abound. There is no bunting in this game. So yeah, we're talking about the 2014 film "The Battered Bastards of Baseball," which is a documentary that hit Netflix in the year 2014. It is set during the 1973 through 77 baseball seasons, and it is the story of Hollywood actor Bing Russell. If that name sounds familiar, it might be because you know his son, Kurt Russell, who Bing Russell, he started an independent minor league team in Portland, Oregon. And it kind of consisted of this ragtag group, one that you would actually see in the movies, like we watched, last week with like Moneyball or Major League or The Sandlot. This is the real life version of those, and they were a minor league single A team. They were independent from any major league faction, so they did not have to abide to the overlords of Major League Baseball, and they kind of
and at the time they were the only independent team.
And at that point, still remain so as far as Major League Baseball goes.
Yep.
But yeah, this is a fascinating documentary. Like I said, it is on Netflix right now. This was a first time watch for both Brian and myself. And let's start with that, because this was a first time watch for both of us. I had never heard this story before. The only way I had ever came across it was because we were talking about what are we going to play, and you had mentioned this movie, and I'm like, well, like I kind of remember Kurt Russell was a baseball guy, but I never knew his dad owned a team, and Kurt played on the team. That's a wild story, and yeah, I had never heard of it before this.
It was one of those ones, and that's, you made mention about, like, because we didn't have Major League on our series and this and this and this and whatnot. This is one of those ones where, yes, it was a first time watch for me here, but this is one that's probably been in my Netflix queue probably since it premiered. In that I'm like, oh, this looks fascinating, but just for whatever reason, I just never got around to it and whatnot. Just because it did reference the fact that, hey, this is, because one of the producers is also Kurt Russell, and it's like, hey, this is what here, and when you realize, you're like, oh, hey, number one, I was completely oblivious to the Russell heritage that is that the acting scene and stuff like that. Like I knew that Kurt Russell is also one of those ones who started at a very young age, teenager
Very
as a
early, one of the early Disney kids.
yes, he's a very, very early Disney kid. But no, I had no idea that his dad
Oh
was an
yeah,
actor. Was what I think that was 13 seasons. I think of was I think was Bonanza.
Bonanza. Yep.
And did a lot. I mean, they make reference to the fact that he died like 270 some odd times in the different shows and stuff like that he did and whatnot. One thing I did actually really love about this, and this is as Kurt Russell puts it, um, he's as much in love to my father and whatnot, is that he was a plumber actor in that he went in, he did his job, he went home. But yeah, I I didn't know that. I knew that Kurt Russell was like a baseball fan, but I had no clue that he played on his father's team. I didn't know that his father had a team. And it's really fascinating to see somebody who's like, who you watch this documentary and you realize that this is a guy who did what he did for the love of the game, not for a bunch of shareholders, not for a board of directors, not for the money. He did it for the love of the game. He did it for the people who wanted to play baseball, where the major leagues and minor leagues and everybody affiliated with the Major League Baseball basically said, you're not going to play baseball your entire life. And he gave these opportunities to people that would never have seen a baseball game in their life.
Yeah, I love Netflix documentaries. I think are kind of the unsung hero of that streaming service.
They are an untapped, like, beautiful source of information.
They are that they definitely are, and this is kind of one of the early ones to hit Netflix as far as
Hmm.
the documentaries go. And what I love about it is they tell these stories that you had no idea existed beforehand. They
Right.
do documentaries that are just riveting, but but in other ways they shouldn't be, because like this is just a story of literally 4 years in a storied history of Major League Baseball that just no one talks about. And I mean,
Hmm.
right now I'm still working my way through the Last Dance documentary that Netflix worked on with ESPN, and that's another fascinating documentary where you feel like you know it, and that's kind of the opposite of this one, where it felt like you knew everything already, but no, you didn't. There's
Hmm.
stuff that you uncover, and this is kind of just a whole documentary of stuff you never knew beforehand, and you just uncover it over the 80 minutes of the documentary.
Yeah,
And
and like you said, 80 minutes. It's a nice, good,
mhm,
solid amount of time. And for the sake of a documentary, it's not like there's not really any low points to this here. They just keep throwing so much at you in a nice, processed way that it doesn't feel like it's already been 80 minutes when you're done watching it, other than the fact that you're like, wow, I know so much more about this that I didn't know
mhm.
before.
Yeah, and with that runtime, when I watched this movie, I had not planned this, but it turned out to be a great double feature for my night when I watched this. I was prepping for the Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger live show that we're doing, and I had watched Tango and Cash, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh yeah, I need a, I got to fit in, maybe another Arnie movie in there somewhere after. But I'm like, wait, I got to watch the Battered Bastards of Baseball. Let's just watch that right after watching Kurt Russell in Tango and Cash. And that was a
mm-hmm.
great double feature for the night to see uh, Russell in one of his biggest movies, followed up by a true love letter to his dad, and that was a great little double feature. This is a Kurt Russell film where this was a big passion project for him. You knew from watching this documentary he has so much love and respect and admiration for his dad, because he looked up to him. He was the guy that many of the people in the documentary all looked up to. He
Mm-hmm.
was a one of a kind person, and like you said, he did this all for the love of the game. He grew up around old Yankee Stadium. He grew up with the classic Yankees all around him, like the Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle and DiMaggio, and he grew up during that era, which was a huge era for baseball. And
Definitely.
uh, yeah, it's kind of great to see that's 15, 20 years later he buys his own team, and and it really leaves a lasting legacy for baseball in general in our country, because the whole story of this is that it's about a minor league team. They are still within the confines of minor league baseball, which is right underneath Major League Baseball, where you have the AAA affiliate, the AA, the single A affiliate. And in this case, they were a single A affiliates, but they weren't, the minor league team of the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Tigers, anything like that. They were singular. They had no one uh that was plucking players up and down constantly, so you never had a full roster, or never got to really know your teammates. It was truly still for the love of the game, and for, we're going to go out there, we're going to win this game. We're not here to build the players, we're here to build the team. And that's kind of non-existent in minor league baseball. It's all about the single players, and still today, and they mention this in the documentary, it's still very much the same way. The minor league team is to build the players, not the team. In this case, this is all about the team. It was really, really interesting to look at it that way.
And one of the things that I did pick up on, and I think this is a good follow-up to the fact that we just did Moneyball, is the fact that one of the things that they reference in it, and one of the things that Bing was kind of forming, is the fact that it wasn't, he's like, not all these guys can hit, not all these guys can field, but they can get on base. And it's kind of fascinating if you really think about the fact that Bing was doing, like you said, the ragtag team to start winning these games and start being able to beat these guys who make multi-million-dollar deals with these big, AAA, minor league, major league, teams. And he's winning games with people who are getting paid half of that, who are being the unsung people that were just being blown off. And to think that, they did it how many, 20 years later, 30 years later, doing the exact same thing, basically by the number system, being able to actually use the stats and actually go, like the computer way about it. But, he's doing it by, almost kind of the scouting way, if you will. He did it the old school way, but he was still doing it the way that, we kind of what we saw in Moneyball. I'm going to make you a winning team the unconventional way.
Well, yeah, and along with that, it was, I loved in this that the head coach, who was the head coach of this team, Frank Peters, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, if guys got on base, I didn't have signs for them. If they wanted to bunt, they bunt. If they stole a base, you better make sure you're safe. I'm not giving you a sign to go steal second. Just do it if you feel like you need to do it.
Yep.
And I really love, like, that's all about player mentality, and you're giving them a lot of freedom in that, because in any other farm system in baseball, it's you're following your coach, and that's the rules of the game. And here they broke every rule of the game. And since you touched on Moneyball from last week, after we had finished recording, we had mentioned that we were doing the Battered Bastards of Baseball, and Carter said, if you want to watch any movie that relates to the Sioux Falls Canaries, this is it. And now, having watched it, I can see that, because the team and the Battered Bastards of Baseball, and kind of the antics of that organization is very much what independent baseball teams still do to this day, like the Sioux Falls Canaries. I mean, they talk about in this, they would have a dog run onto the field if the players kind of needed a little break, or kind of distract the umpires and the other team, just so everybody can kind of catch their breath quick. Like, you wouldn't see that in Major League Baseball, but in the independent league, then you could see stuff like that. I mean, one story I remember, like, from the Canaries, was they had an over 100-year-old guy was the leadoff hitter for the Canaries in one game, and that was the drawing factor to get people to come into the game. And this is kind of the same stuff that they were doing back in the mid '70s with the Portland team. Yeah, this is it's kind of strange watching this documentary in a way, because one, I never realized Kurt Russell was a baseball player really before this. I knew he was a baseball guy, but never really knew he was into baseball like this. But another thing is crazy, because I recognized his name, and I'm like, why do I know this guy's name? And that's
Which one?
Todd Field,
Okay.
who was the bat boy for this Portland team, but he has
Oh
now
yeah.
gone on and had a very big career
The
in
the
Hollywood as a director and an actor.
I know. I saw him, and I did the same thing too. It was like that Bat Boy does look a little familiar
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And no, I did the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, but then they also touch upon it. When they're talking about the end of Bing's life, when he went to go visit him and whatnot. And I do think it is pretty interesting to see the kind of impact that Bing had on these people, that enrich their lives for years to come. Some of these, the people that they interviewed for this documentary, you're probably people who like who've been out of the game or been out of anything for decades and whatnot. I'd be like, yep, we're going to talk about this guy because it's a fascinating story, and B, they want to pay the homage to the great Bing Russell.
Yeah, if you look at this team though, in general, I mean, Kurt Russell, he was the big standout, but
Yeah, but
we
wasn't
also
he like a pinch hitter?
he was I think he was
Designated hitter.
their DH, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but they also had another player on their team that created Big League Chew. I'm like,
Oh, that's right.
that's wild. What? Like, that's crazy that also came out of this team. It was really something that you could only write in a movie, but it happened in real life, and that's crazy that they were. I mean, and they mention it in the documentary is that they were creating Big League Chew while they were on the team in Portland under Bing's team, and that's kind of crazy to think about. It's such a staple of baseball now that also came out of this crazy bastard team.
And it's kind of funny as it doesn't probably have the same impact of like the Florida Gators and Gatorade and whatnot. But yeah, the fact to be like Big League Chew was the result of an actor turned baseball owner turned ragtag baseball team to, you know, all this. You're absolutely right. It's the kind of thing you can't. This is something that should be made up. This is something that should have been in some sort of movie that somebody made up. And no, this is real life. And the fact that I when they were talking about the Big League Chew, I'm like, that was me when I was a kid, and it was always, you go to the convenience store, what are you gonna go buy for your dollar and whatnot, and go get that big old bag of Big League Chew,
Mm-hmm.
that you probably ate all the bubble gum before the end of the day. It was great. I
Yeah.
love Big League Chew.
Yeah, this was a fascinating little documentary that so much came out of, and it was such an influential team, but it, that no one had ever heard of it. It's kind of just one of those stories that you kind of wonder where some of these things came from, and this is the catalyst for a lot of those. And
One of the things that I do want to bring up is in terms of the things that came out of this deal and whatnot is that being also set a precedence when the Major League Baseball wanted to come back to the area because he made it thrive and he put them on their ear and made them basically sell a lot to sell him the territory at an exponentially higher amount of money than what was deemed a reasonable offer back in the day. They offered him $26,000 for the territory. He took him to court and won it for $206,000.
said
Which
put a zero between that 2 and the 6, and we got a deal.
that was, that's the kind of thing. It's like, put a zero at the end and we'll talk and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. He's like, no, we're going to put it right there. And he probably did that knowing after watching the documentary is to put the zero between the 2 and the 6 is I think he did it just to spite them, because it's a weird, odd amount. And, yeah, I love the fact that he's like, no, you guys left the territory because it was a dead territory. I came in here, I revived it. We're doing amazing. We're setting records that even minor league baseball that is affiliated with the MLB is not hitting these records. And now that I'm doing really good, you're scared and you want to take over my territory. So it's going to cost you some money.
Yeah, that's such a little thing. Like, you'd feel like, even Kurt talking about it, you're like, that's such a dad thing to do.
Right. That is that is him in the 70s basically giving the middle finger to the
Hmm.
Major League Baseball and being like, you know what, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, another thing with this team, it was all about they wanted to win the pennant, and
Hmm.
they never did, unfortunately, because at that point, Major League Baseball did have a little bit of a vendetta against them. So the teams that they would face towards the end of the season would call down players to join the single A team just so they could beat this team from Portland.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's such a crazy little thing to think about, that teams would go that far just to say, no, this is how the game is played. This is how we do it. You can't be coming in here as the outsider doing it. And you know what? They did it anyway, and came close a couple times to winning it all.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts on the film?
Other than the fact that I just think that, especially if you're a baseball fan, hopefully if you're a baseball fan, you've already seen this documentary. Um, if you haven't, you should. Even if you're not a baseball fan, like I enjoy watching baseball. I will go see baseball games or anything like that, but I'm not like the full on, I can name you everybody on the team and everybody in Major League Baseball kind of thing. Um, but this is a good fun story to watch. This is something where you definitely see the passion in it from the side of like Kurt Russell and talking about his dad and everything like that. The people that he brought in, like you said, the guy that was the bat boy, his old general manager, which he set a precedence by having a female general manager. All these different things that he did that was outside of the norm is just worth watching alone.
Yeah, I highly recommend this. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I've fallen off the baseball curve, but I grew up with it, and having
Hmm.
not known this story, it disappointed me that I did not know this. But now I'm glad I did. And if you don't know the story, and even if you're not even a sports fan and you're just looking for a great documentary, that's just a great story about, uh, you know, just a great like human story about someone who was super passionate about what they did and what they stood for, like Bing Russell. This is quite the documentary to check out, and it's, like we said, it's a breezy 80 minutes long, and
Hmm.
it pairs well with Tango and Cash.
Definitely. I really at first you're like Sly and Arnie. I'm like, where would he? Never mind, I got it.
Yep. All right, so that'll wrap up our conversation on the Battered Bastards of Baseball. Like we said, this is on Netflix right now. If you haven't had the chance to check it out, go ahead and do so, and let us know your thoughts. If you have seen it, or if you're going to check it out, let us know what you thought of the film.
Hmm.
But let's get into some of the house cleaning stuff that we got going on.
You're
Uh,
cleaning house?
we're cleaning house. We're sweeping up just like the brooms in the movie Battered Bastards of Baseball. Yeah. Uh,
There you go.
You can find this podcast and all of our other podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and on YouTube. And you can check out all of our movie reviews, articles, our coming soon articles, anything like that on backlot605.com.
Yes. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where we try to keep you up on the news and reviews and stuff like that to get you what you want to see out there. Join the conversation with us here at the South Dakota Film Community Group on Facebook. We definitely like to be able to share in our experiences and stories and what news we're hearing and stuff like that. Definitely join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you here. So yeah,
Yeah, we got. Let's plug two more things of what
two
we
more
have.
things.
We got two things. We got to
Two
talk
things.
about them. First of all, let's talk about what we got coming up next week as we round third and head home in our baseball mini series. There we go. As we put up a poll a few weeks ago on our social medias of which movie you'd like us to talk about. It was really close. I think it was 1 point between the two films, which was A League of Their Own and The Sandlot, and the film that has etched out the other is A League of Their Own. So that will be the movie that we are talking about next week. We will have a guest for that. Blake has requested if his exact words were, "If A League of Their Own wins, I want on." So
Good.
there we go. So
Good. Blake hasn't been on for a while.
he has not, and I have never watched A League of Their Own. So,
What?
I have never watched A League of Their Own. So
How are you the baseball guy and never watched this film?
I don't know. I don't know. But
This
yeah,
is this is this is one of the best like Tom Hanks comedy slash drama performances that he's ever put together.
yeah, I'm stoked to check it out, and I'm glad that you two will be on the show to kind of add a little more to it, since you have both will be rewatching the film.
I'll always be like rewatching the rewatch.
But along with that, we do have to talk about the Arnie and Sly show that we have coming up August 30th, 7 p.m. at Spellbound Magic Shop here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as well as on Facebook Live. So, like we had briefly talked about during this episode, we will be ranking the top 20 movies of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone on that live show. Brian will be hosting for the evening, keeping us hooligans in order.
I'm gonna try anyway.
You'll have to. You're gonna have to bring out the big guns, because we're talking to Arnie and Sly, and I think the group that we have for this is split down the middle of whose side they're on.
So who do we have joining us for this wonderful show?
We have Mr. Blake Ginnathan is on that, Mr. Derek Vierink, as well as the voice of all of wrestling, as we've talked about before, Charlie Eccles, and myself. We will be ranking the top 20 movies of Arnie and Sly. It's going to be a crazy night. I have no idea what to expect. And again, that's coming up August 30th, 7 p.m. We do have limited seating available at Spellbound Magic Shop. Show is free for everyone to attend. And if you do want to reserve a seat, please just reach out to us on any of our social media channels, or send us an email at backlot605@gmail.com. And once again, that'll be streaming on Facebook Live as well.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Even though I'm going to try to put myself some nice notes and whatnot, so I don't try to completely, screw the show up and make us look bad.
No, we'll be fine. I think next week, since we'll have Blake on, we'll get a little more smack talk going, because I think me and Blake are on opposite ends.
Well, we can't all be Arnold Schwarzenegger fans.
No, but we can all be Sly fans, But yeah, that is that is our Arnie and Sly show. But next week we are talking League of Their Own as we finish up our baseball miniseries. But until next time, this has been the Backlot 605 podcast. For Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Calderman, and we'll check you out next time on the Backlot of South Dakota.
Matt Damon.